If you have ever been pushed out of the place that was supposed to be your home, tell me, what would you do? Would you build something new, or would you go back and knock on that same door again? Keep listening. My name is Elena Rostova. When I was a child, they gave me the room no one wanted, by the pipes, by the mildew. They said I was the strong one, so I learned to be silent. I paid for groceries when Dad lost his job and babysat Natalia through every storm. I thought loyalty would earn me love. Instead, on her 20th birthday, she screamed, "Get out." My mother laughed. My father turned away. I walked out in heels I had worn for them, and the very next morning, I stepped barefoot into my own oceanfront mansion in Malibu, worth $28 million, paid in full. They still do not know where I went, but they will, because I kept the receipts and I turned silence into stone. The room to the left of the staircase was always mine. It was not really a bedroom, more like a storage nook someone had cleared out and tossed a mattress into. The walls were yellowed from humidity, and one of them had a crack that split all the way down like a scar in winter. The radiator clinked so loudly it sounded like it was screaming. Still, Mom insisted it was cozy. Natalia got the big room upstairs, 2 windows both east-facing, so the sun kissed her awake every morning. She had a vanity, lace curtains, and posters of pop stars. I was not jealous. Not then. I was tired. Tired of asking and getting half smiles. Tired of hearing, "You're the strong one, Elena," like that meant I did not get to want anything. From as early as I can remember, I was the one who knew where the bandages were. I was the one who walked to the pharmacy when Mom had a headache. I was the one who had to miss school if Natalia had the flu. She would curl up on the couch, swaddled like a baby bird, while I wiped her forehead and carried the trash out. And if I got sick, Mom would say, "You will bounce back, sweetheart," already checking her phone. Once, when I was about 13 years old, I asked Dad if we could trade rooms just for the summer. He looked up from his newspaper and said, "Your sister's room has stairs. You want her falling down and breaking something?" That was the end of it. No discussion. No compromise. My safety did not seem to factor in. A week later, I got straight A's. Every report card, every quarter. I volunteered at the library. I helped the neighbor with groceries. No one told me to. I thought maybe if I was good enough, I would finally earn a place that felt like mine. Then came senior year. When the Caltech acceptance arrived, I held the envelope in my lap, breathing like something fragile lived inside it. When I finally tore it open and saw the words, "Full scholarship," I pressed the letter to my chest and laughed. A full ride. California. My life was about to begin. That night at dinner, I waited until Natalia finished telling a story. When the room finally quieted, I said it softly. I got into Caltech. Full scholarship. Silence. A full second of silence. Then Mom blinked. "California? That is really far, baby." Dad grunted. "Is that the one in Los Angeles?" "Pasadena," I corrected. Mom wiped her hands. "Well, I guess you will have to figure out your housing and all that. We cannot help with flights." "I do not need help, it is all covered." Natalia stabbed a green bean. "So you're just leaving?" "I am going to college." "You are leaving me," she said. And that was the moment. Not the letter, not the scholarship. That moment when she made it about her, when Mom reached over and touched her wrist and said, "She is not leaving you, sweetie. We will figure it out." I did not cry. I did not yell. I nodded, excused myself, and walked outside. I packed my things in silence over the next 2 months. My room did not take long. The drive to the airport was quiet. Dad dropped me off at departures without turning off the engine. No wave. No goodbye. I flew across the country with a heart full of grief and hope tangled together like wire. In Pasadena, the air was dry, and my dorm room was tiny, but it had a window, and sunlight poured in like a promise. For the first time in my life, the space around me belonged to me. I filled my days with textbooks, code, and cheap coffee. I felt like I had finally stepped into a life that did not demand I apologize for existing. No one there knew I came from a family where silence was louder than praise. In my junior year, I landed a summer internship at a small software company. The team was lean, young, hungry. I was just another intern until I met Marcus Vance. He was the lead developer, older, with permanently rumpled hair. The first time I presented a solution, he did not just say nice job out of politeness. He asked to see my code. He cared about the thinking behind it. We stayed late some nights, going through lines of logic like puzzle pieces. For the first time, someone looked at my brain like it was a muscle worth strengthening. By the time I graduated, I had already been promoted. I floated an idea during lunch one day. A simple, streamlined app that could help hourly wage workers track income and reduce overdraft fees. Marcus leaned forward, eyes focused. Tell me more. Within 4 months, we quit our jobs and filed a limited liability company. We worked out of my apartment, surviving on ramen. We named the app Budget Bridge. Marcus handled the back end while I obsessed over the user experience. We launched a beta and secured small funding. The first time we hit 15,000 users, we celebrated with $2 tacos from a truck. Marcus raised his can of lime soda like it was champagne. To me, it was the first time I had created something that felt mine. One evening, my phone buzzed. It was my mother. She spent 20 minutes describing Natalia's new title on a local advisory board. Then she asked if I was still working at that little company. I almost corrected her, almost told her I was the chief executive officer now, that our user base was growing. But I stopped myself. She would not hear it. So I said yes, still working. She hummed like that was good enough. In our second year, Budget Bridge crossed 120,000 accounts. Still, I did not tell my family. Not about the seed funding, not when we were featured in national magazines. I watched from a distance as Natalia posted her yoga retreats. Every now and then, I would get a forwarded email from Mom about Natalia. I would reply with a short note. It became our routine. They lived in a world where Natalia was the center. I had accepted that. But then our growth plateaued. Customer feedback became harsher because our competitors had begun doing more, faster. A year and a half after our official launch, one of our seed investors requested a meeting. I walked out with a deadline. If we did not show significant growth in the next 8 weeks, they were pulling out. That week, I did not sleep much. I redesigned parts of the dashboard and rewrote code. Our team followed my lead, but the energy was tight. Then, on a quiet Thursday morning, I opened our company email and found a thread I was not supposed to see. Term sheet review. My breath caught. I read the body 3 times. Marcus had signed on with one of our closest competitors, a slick, overfunded platform that had approached us months earlier about a merger we had declined. He had not. There was no resignation note. No conversation. Just a name on a contract and a dotted signature that no longer belonged to my co-founder. Over the next 2 weeks, things unraveled quickly. Our investors followed through on the exit. We could not meet payroll. I held a team meeting in the kitchen, told everyone the truth, and offered to help them find other jobs. I cleaned out my desk last. That final night, I stayed until past midnight. I unplugged the monitors and pulled the whiteboard calendar off the wall. There was a date circled in red, our projected milestone for a $10 million valuation. I smiled at it, a small, tired smile. I reached for a screwdriver and removed the Budget Bridge sign from the glass door. I sat on the floor and let myself feel the failure. Then I booked a ride home. I did not unpack the boxes. Instead, I opened a fresh notebook. Ideas poured in, messy and loud. I knew what I wanted this time. A financial platform that did not shame people for being broke, that adapted to them like a good friend would. I called it Lantern. I did not want a co-founder this time. No board seats handed out for friendship, no face of the company to smile on stage while I rewrote every back-end process alone. I recruited a small, sharp team. Rachel, a machine learning engineer, and a compliance expert. We moved fast. This time, I did not list myself as Chief Executive Officer. I did not take interviews. I did not put my name on press releases. Rachel became the public face. She understood the tech should lead, not the egos, and she did not mind taking the heat while I worked behind the curtain. We launched the beta quietly. Users trickled in. We answered every message ourselves. We got traction, grants, mentions in industry newsletters. Venture capital sniffed around, but we were not ready until the code felt bulletproof. 2.5 years in, we filed for a patent on our artificial intelligence engine. I signed it with my full legal name, tucked into a line of technical authorship. N. Rostova. No titles, just initials. At a financial technology summit in San Francisco, we were invited to demonstrate. Rachel presented. I watched from the audience like just another data scientist. During the question and answer session, a man in a blazer raised his hand. Who is the architect behind the logic grid? Rachel glanced at me. I shook my head just barely. She smiled and said, we are a collaborative team. The man smirked, noting the patent filing listed N. Rostova as the lead contributor. A ripple went through the room. Rachel did not flinch. That is correct, she said. Is she here? He asked. I stayed seated. I did not need a spotlight. I needed freedom. Freedom from being compared to Natalia. Freedom from the weight of firstborn responsibility. Freedom to build without being dismissed. The next morning, we got our first offer to acquire. I had not been back to Austin in over a decade. The invitation came in a cream envelope. Join us to celebrate Natalia's 25th birthday. Mom had added a note in blue ink. Hope you can make it home, Elena. I bought a bottle of Cabernet and pulled out an old watercolor painting Mom used to love. When I landed, the humidity hit like a wall. I knocked. Dad opened the door. He stared for a moment too long. You came, he said. I held up the wine and the painting. Inside, the living room pulsed with music and the scent of catered food. Natalia stood near the fireplace, wearing a white dress, people orbiting her like she was gravity. Mom approached with a practiced smile. You look well, I told her. I handed her the painting. She blinked, smiled briefly, then turned to greet someone else. Dinner was set in the backyard under string lights. Natalia made a speech about growing older, finding your path, and knowing who your real friends were. Then the toast started. Mom raised her glass. To my beautiful girl, who has never stopped making us proud. Dad followed. You have always been the light in this family. I sipped my wine. Then Natalia stood again, holding her glass with both hands. And let us not forget my big sister Elena, who disappeared for a while. She grinned. Where did you go? Witness protection? A few guests chuckled. No headlines, no interviews. I mean, did you get abducted by monks? I set my glass down carefully. Natalia's voice rose. Come on, Elena, share something. Remind us you exist. I pushed my chair back. The gravel shifted beneath my heels. Natalia blinked. What? If you cannot be part of the celebration, maybe you should not be here. I turned toward the gate behind me. Get out, she snapped. The words hit me like a slap. But what stung more was the silence from the rest of the table. Then Mom laughed. Not cruelly, just lightly. Dad smirked into his wine. Get out, Natalia said again, louder this time. So I walked. The gravel crunched. No one followed. The echo of her voice, of their laughter, tucked under napkins and half-empty glasses, stayed with me longer than any door ever could. At the curb, I realized my hands were shaking. Not from anger, but from disbelief or the weight of an answer I had known for years, but kept hoping would change. I did not check into the hotel. At the airport curb, I changed my flight. Red-eye to Los Angeles. I wanted out. The plane was nearly empty. I took a window seat and watched the lights shrink behind me. No one would notice I was gone until someone realized the wine bottle never got opened. We landed just before sunrise. The car I had arranged months ago was already waiting. We passed through Pacific Palisades, then wound up the coastal road toward Malibu. The mansion sat at the end of a quiet cliffside road. $28 million. The sale had been in motion for 6 months. The offer was placed through a private firm. The funds came from the Lantern acquisition, carefully structured so no part of the public deal included my name. It was all legal, all quiet. Lantern's buyout had gone through without fanfare. I was not mentioned once, just a footnote in the patent line. I entered the code. The door clicked open. Marble floors, pale oak staircase, floor-to-ceiling windows that faced the ocean. I walked barefoot through the hallway. I opened the doors to the terrace. Below, waves rolled in slow and steady. The silence was deep, but not heavy. For the first time in years, I did not feel the urge to explain myself. The downfall started quietly. An email came on a Thursday morning. Subject line, Strategic Collaboration Opportunity. The sender was Natalia. She had used her personal email. Dear Lantern Team, I am reaching out to explore a potential brand collaboration. As you may know, my recent media presence has experienced a temporary dip due to false accusations. I am seeking innovative partnerships. She had no idea who she was emailing. No hint that she had ever screamed at her sister in front of a room full of people. I simply replied, "Thank you for your interest. We have passed your request to the relevant department." By Monday, her story broke wider. A boutique fitness chain in Denver posted a formal complaint. Natalia had taken upfront payments for workshops and disappeared. Her name started trending again, this time without the champagne. Then came the podcast. A niche voice in the innovation space aired a 30-minute interview with someone called NR, listed as the founding engineer behind Lantern. It was clipped from an old internal panel. The host asked if I had ever been underestimated. I laughed softly in the audio. My own family thought I was wasting time. Someone once asked me if I even knew what a spreadsheet formula was. The internet connected the dots faster than I expected. Someone dug up my early design patent filed under N. Rostova. Screenshots of Natalia's birthday party surfaced again. The comment sections merged. Wait, is this her sister? Did she not get screamed at in that viral birthday video? A creator did a deep dive, overlaying Natalia's public statements with the birthday footage. One comment stood out. She did not push her sister out, she erased her. The backlash spread. Natalia's brand partnerships ended. She was removed from advisory boards. The next day, my phone rang. An unknown number. I answered on the third try. Elena. Her voice was shaken. Is this true? That you are the one behind Lantern? She paused, swallowing something bitter. Why did you never say anything? You let me walk into that room, thinking I was the only Rostova worth watching. They're saying you planned it. I stood by the window, the moon casting a silver line across the water. I did not plan the scandal, Natalia, I said calmly. But I did build the thing that works, and I stayed quiet while it grew. The call ended with a click. The next morning, my mother called. There was no greeting. So is this how you get back at us? I am not getting back at anyone, I said. I am just living my life. You knew what that podcast would do, she scoffed. You could have stopped it. No, I said gently. I did not start the fire. I just did not put it out for you. I think I outgrew the idea that family means staying silent while being stepped on. She hung up. I sat on the edge of my bed. I was not angry, just empty. A week later, an envelope arrived from my father. Handwritten in stiff black ink. Inside was a cheap birthday card. Happy birthday, Neva. He had misspelled my name. Neva was the nickname he used for the neighbor's daughter when we were kids. I slid it back into the envelope, walked to my office, and placed the card in the bottom drawer, beneath the deed to the $28 million property. 2 signatures. One from a man who never saw me, and one from the woman I had become in spite of him. I did meet my father one last time, months later, at a cafe. He brought up family values and told me Natalia needed support. I slid a copy of my internal Lantern publication across the table. The author was NR. I told him I built something from nothing, from all the things he said were not enough. When he asked if I was happy, I looked him in the eye and said, I am whole. Then I left. I kept the small room beside the staircase in the Malibu house as an office for a scholarship I founded. The fund supported young women in tech who had been overlooked, passed over, told to quiet down. I did not want their gratitude. I just wanted the system to stop mistaking silence for consent. If you have ever been pushed out of the place that was supposed to be your home, tell me, would you build something new, or would you go back and knock on that same door again? I would love to hear your story. If you saw even a small part of yourself in mine, leave a like or drop a note for my channel in the comments. Sometimes, the quietest voices carry the furthest.